Imagine standing in a frozen city where every breath burns your lungs, where the air itself smells of smoke, blood, and gunpowder. A city where entire streets are reduced to rubble, and survival isn't measured in days, but in hours. This was Stalingrad, the place where over 2 million soldiers and civilians clashed in the deadliest battle in human history. The year was 1942. Hitler's armies had marched deep into the Soviet Union, sweeping across vast lands with frightening speed. Their next target was the city on the Volga River, Stalingrad. On the surface, it was just another city. But for both Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, it became something far more than that. For Hitler, conquering a city named after his enemy's leader was a matter of pride, a symbol of Nazi domination. For Stalin, losing it was unthinkable. His name was on the city, and its fall would be a humiliation beyond repair. What began as a strategic objective soon turned into a brutal test of willpower, a duel not only between two armies, but between two dictators. The German attack began in the late summer of 1942. Luftwaffe bombers roared through the skies, unleashing waves of destruction. Within days, Stalingrad was reduced to smoldering ruins. Yet, this rubble became an unlikely fortress. Soviet soldiers dug in among the collapsed buildings, fighting from basements, rooftops, and shattered factories. The Germans called it Rattenkrieg, the War of the Rats, because every block, every room, every corner became a battleground. The Germans believed the city would fall in weeks. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a nightmare of street-to-street combat. Soldiers fought with knives, pistols, and even bare hands. Snipers lurked in hidden windows, taking down enemies one by one. Among them was the famous Soviet marksman Vasily Zaitsev, who became a legend for his deadly precision. His story inspired not only his comrades, but also generations afterward. But as the Germans pressed deeper, the Soviets refused to surrender. Stalin's infamous order echoed in every soldier's ear, not one step back. Anyone caught retreating faced execution. This ruthless command instilled both fear and determination. The Red Army fought not only against the invaders, but also under the shadow of their own leader's iron hand. Meanwhile, winter crept in. Temperatures dropped to brutal lows, freezing rivers and turning blood into ice. The German army, stretched thin and unprepared for such conditions, began to falter. Supplies dwindled. Ammunition, food, and warm clothing became luxuries. Yet Hitler refused to allow retreat. He demanded his soldiers hold Stalingrad at all costs, even as Soviet forces prepared a massive counteroffensive. And then it happened. In November 1942, the Soviets launched Operation Uranus. While the Germans were focused on the city itself, Soviet armies encircled them from the north and south, trapping more than 250,000 German soldiers inside Stalingrad. What was once an attack now became a desperate struggle for survival. The Germans begged Hitler for permission to break out, but he stubbornly refused, insisting that the Luftwaffe could supply the army from the air. In reality, the airdrops provided only a fraction of what was needed. Hunger, frostbite, and disease ravaged the trapped soldiers. Starving men ate horses, leather belts, even wallpaper paste to stay alive. Some froze to death in their sleep. Others simply gave up, unable to endure any longer. Inside the city, Soviet resistance grew fiercer. Civilians, too, suffered unimaginable horrors. Entire families huddled in cellars, waiting out the endless bombing and gunfire. Food was scarce. Children scavenged for crumbs, while mothers faced impossible choices. The human cost was staggering, and yet the city endured. Have you ever wondered what keeps people fighting in the face of such hopeless odds? Is it loyalty, fear, or the sheer will to survive? By early 1943, the once mighty German Sixth Army was broken. Surrounded, exhausted, and out of options, their commander, General Friedrich Paulus finally surrendered on February 2. Of the hundreds of thousands of soldiers trapped, only a fraction ever returned to Germany. The rest perished in the ruins of Stalingrad or in Soviet captivity. The battle had lasted over 5 months. More than 2 million people, soldiers and civilians, were killed, wounded, or captured. The scale of death and suffering was almost beyond imagination. Yet Stalingrad was more than just a tragedy. It was a turning point. For the first time, Hitler's unstoppable war machine was decisively defeated. From that moment, the tide of World War I began to shift. The ruins of Stalingrad became a symbol of resilience, sacrifice, and human endurance. It was a story written in fire and blood, one that changed the course of history forever. So when we speak of the deadliest battle in history, we're not just talking about numbers. We're talking about a city that refused to die, an army that refused to surrender, and the countless lives caught in the storm of two men's obsessions. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.